Hi, my name is JB. I'm a qualified PGA teaching professional and also a Captor expert. In this video, I'm going to show you how you can use the Capto 2.0 in your coaching. Let's take a look at the product first. When you order the product, what you will receive. The Capto 2.0 set comes with the calibration tool, the loft and lie tool with some additional stickers, the heavy duty case that keeps your Capto safe, and inside the case, of course, we have the Capto sensor. The sensor has an extra alignment tool for aligning the face square to the putter sensor, and it has an attachable and detachable sunscreen device. To attach the sensor to the shaft, simply place the sensor on the shaft of the putter and close the lid at the back of the shaft. And this places the sensor firmly on the putter. To place the Capto 2.0 square to the putter face, we're going to use the two parts of the calibration tool. Simply connect the two parts, place the face square on the calibration tool, and then slide the holder to fit the Capto, and this will make sure that the Capto sensor is perfectly square to the putter face. If you have this position, all you have to do is tighten the screw or the lid of the sensor, and now we have the putter and the sensor ready. The next step is turning the Capto sensor on, and then you have two options. Either you work standalone, that means you only work with the sensor itself. It has a built-in screen that shows your data, and it has a built-in processor and a hard drive, or you can connect the sensor to a handheld device like the tablet that I have here. The sensor works on Wi-Fi, so when the sensor is switched on, connect to the sensor Wi-Fi on your tablet, and then open the app, and then in the app connect to the sensor. It's a really simple, fast process, and you will be up and running in no time.
After setting up the sensor and connecting to the app, you want to create a player profile. Click Player. At the top of the screen, enter the name of the player and click Create. Confirm the name of the player, and here, for example, you can select where the player is from. In this case, we can select USA. You can select an expert or not. Fill in the gender, fill in dexterity, and fill in the thresholds. You can even fill in an email if you like, and after that click Save, and your player profile is ready. After creating the player profile, you want to create a putter profile. The process is the same, just give the putter a name, click Create, fill in all the necessary information, click Save, close it, go to Play, choose the putter that you want, and now you see we're ready to putt with this player and this putter.
With the Capto loft and lie tool, it's really easy to check the loft and lie of the putter. As you can see, I have attached it to the putter face. It works with a little sticker, and basically all you have to do is click on the loft and lie check, make sure that the little water level bubble that we have on here is perfectly in the middle, and then Capto will automatically detect what the lie angle is and what the loft of the putter is. After setting up the sensor, connecting it, and creating the player and putter profile, we're ready to putt. Of course, if a player comes the second time around, you don't have to create that player and putter profile anymore, so your setup will be even faster. And even though after watching this part of the video you think that it might take a lot of time before you can start putting, I can assure you that with a little bit of experience and after a couple of times that you've done it, the total setup of adding a new player, connecting the sensor, creating a putter profile is really fast, and you'll be up and running in no time. So let's get started with the really interesting stuff, and that is putting and looking at the data. With Capto, we have two options of putting, the free mode and the target mode. The free mode is where you can play any putt in any direction. You don't have to calibrate a target line, whereas the target mode, you do have to calibrate a target line. The advantage of the free mode, and that's really why I like it a lot, is that you can go around on the green and play any type of putt. So you can go from a 10-footer left to right to a 3-footer uphill to a 20-footer right to left downhill. It doesn't matter. What Capto measures is it takes your face setup as the zero aim line. So if you place your face in this direction, this becomes the zero line. If you place the face in that direction or any other direction for that matter, that will become the zero line. Whereas in the target mode, you calibrate a fixed target line, and then it gives you the face angles relative to that target line, whereas with the free mode, it gives you the face angles and the club path relative to where you were aiming in setup. So free mode and target mode, I'm going to play a couple of putts and then we're going to look at the data. The first thing I want to show you is the green mode. I personally love the green mode because it really helps me to improve the setup fundamentals of the players. It is mostly about the correct shaft position and the correct lie position. So let's take a ball, let's take a putter. I'm going to play on the putting mat and have a look at the data. In the green mode, we get live numbers for shaft and lie. For the shaft number, when the shaft is vertical, Captor will give you 0, forward press is negative, backward leaning handle is a positive value. For lie angle, if the putter is in a neutral position, Captor will give you 0. If you lower the handle toe up, it will give you a negative value. If you raise the handle toe down, it will give you a positive value. So this mode really helps me to get my players into proper setup positions. If they have too much shaft lean in the setup or the handle too low, it really helps them to place the iPad on the ground in front of them so they can look at the numbers while taking the setup. So for example, they have too much forward press and the hands too low. I ask them to get the hands higher and the shaft in a more neutral position where we're going to find a vertical shaft around 0 and a neutral lie position also around 0, and then you take the stroke. As soon as you hit the ball, Captor registers this as a hit, and in this case you can see that my phase change was actually really close to 0, so that means that the position of the face at impact was almost exactly the same as the position of the face in the setup, because in the free mode it takes your face position in the setup as the 0 line. And then we can see that the lie angle was pretty much exactly neutral, and in the shaft angle had a little bit of a difference, but that is a really small value. So it really helps you get proper setup positions and then try and find the correct positions at impact. One of the best features of the Captor 2.0 is the standalone function. This means you can play putts without needing an external device as a laptop or a tablet. We have an inbuilt screen on the sensor, and that will show you some data. You get 3 data parameters at a time, but it will always record the rest of the information as well. So after your session, you can download the strokes from the sensor into your device and you get the rest of the information as well. We call this the standalone function, and it really gives you even more freedom than we already had with the Captor 1.0. So I'm going to give you an example of that same green mode where we have live numbers of shaft and lie, but then only using the Captor 2.0 and the built-in screen. So let's take the setup. And in this setup, I'm going to try to get a neutral shaft position and a neutral lie position. As soon as I'm close to that neutral shaft and lie position, I'm going to make the stroke. And then after the stroke, it will show me the numbers on the screen and they will stay fixed on the screen. Now when we look at these numbers, we can see on the screen that the face was 0.9 degrees open. That means that relative to from where I was aiming, I opened my face almost 1 degree relative to the setup position. When we take a look at the screen and we check out the shaft position, then we see that the shaft was 1.2 degrees leaning back, positive number, at impact. So that means that I added a little bit of loft at impact. And then finally on the screen, we can see that the lie angle was 0.6 negative, and that means that the lie was a little bit toe up relative to the neutral position of the shaft. So standalone function, even more freedom on the putting green. For every stroke that you make, Captor gathers all the information and all the data. In this next part of the video, I'm going to show you some screenshots of the different data that Captor generates and how it can help you in your coaching.
What we see here is the lab page. The lab page has 16 tiles, and the 16 tiles have different values. If we start at the left top corner, we see the face, and in this case you see that on the stroke that I made here, I had a phase change of 0.1. So I basically came back to the exact position as where my face was aiming in the setup. You see that there is no start value because this was recorded in the free mode, so there is no calibrated target line. To know what your face angle is relative to the calibrated target line, you have to work in target mode, and that is the mode that we see here at the bottom. So there's different modes. In this video, I won't be discussing all of them. I will only show you lab and value, and we have already seen the green mode. The value mode is basically a customizable mode because this is a lot of information, which is good for the coach because you can look for trends or maybe what you want to work on with the player. And in the value mode, you then have the option to minimize the amount of tiles. So for example, let's say I don't want to select any values. I just want to select the phase change and I want to select the track. That is what we call club path. And then you click confirm. And then you can work with a player or a student on 1 or 2 numbers at a time without the player getting distracted and seeing all the different numbers. So the value mode is really interesting if you want to minimize the tiles. If we go back to lab mode, we've already discussed the face. The shaft angle and the lie angle are really interesting because they give you the start, the setup value, they give you the impact value, and then they give you the change value. So in this case, you could see that my shaft was almost vertical in the setup. I add lofted a little bit because I was at plus 0.2 and at impact I was at plus 0.5. So that is a difference of plus 0.3, very close to 0. And as you can see, my lie angle was even better. I started at a perfect neutral lie angle, and then I had my shaft a little bit higher because the toe down 0.1, so that is basically neglectable. Then if we move on, we have the track. That is what we call path. So my club path was 2 degrees into out. The angle of attack was a little bit up. And talking about different numbers that are interesting for now is, for example, my acceleration shape was 0.82. And I had a total time of backswing, downswing to impact of 1.06 seconds and a swing ratio of 1.7. The neutral would be 2.0, where the backswing time is twice the downswing to impact time. This is already a lot of information, and the beauty is that behind each tile there is a complete hidden world of graphs and extra data. In this case, we have a real-time graph of how the face is behaving during the stroke. So the first part from 0 to the yellow bar is the backswing. The second part from the yellow bar to the orange bar is the downswing, and then the third part is the follow-through. So what we can see here is that at the start of the backswing the face is opening. You have to realize that this is a graph, so above the 0 line is positive, opening face, and below the 0 line is negative, that's a closing face, and we're accustomed to reading graphs from left to right. So that is why we see here that an opening face means a positive value. You see that I basically have around maximum opening value at the top of the backswing, and then at the downswing the face starts closing again, and then around impact the lines intersect, so that means that my face has come back to the exact same position as where it started, and then in the follow-through I close the face further. Another interesting graph to show you now is the track. So here you can see the yellow dotted line is the backswing, the orange line is the downswing, and the brown line is the follow-through. So here you can see a real-time image of how the path of the stroke was made. As I said before, there's a lot more to tell, a lot more to explain, and a lot more to learn about Capto and putting, but this is a nice introduction to see what kind of data the Captor sensor generates. Let's take a quick look at all the graphs that we have in Capto. Here we see the 16 data tiles, and you see face, shaft, lie, they have a specific order. If I click on face, I go to the face graph, but if I use the white arrow in the right top screen, I can go to the shaft graph directly, so that is a shortcut. If I keep on scrolling, I will pass all 16 tiles that we have in the lab mode. So here I will go to angles, where you can see the face, shaft, and lie in one graph. This is the track or club path graph. This is the arc or angle of attack graph. Here we have the face to path, where you can see whether the face is open or closed relative to the path. This is the 3D motion, and I will dedicate a short bit of this video especially on the 3D motion. The launch tile, the energy tile. Here we see the sweet spot rotation that will show you if you hit the ball on the toe or the heel of the putter. This is the putter wheel that will show you how close you are to a natural pendulum stroke. The handling that tells you something about the manipulation of the hands during the stroke. The trembling does somewhat similar, not exactly the same, but also shows you if you are in sync with the stroke. This is a really cool graph on the acceleration profile of a player. And the last one is the tempo tile. So as you can see, a lot of information that we have to show in the Capto software. Let's take a closer look at the 3D motion. The 3D motion gives you the shaft plane and the putt plane. You can look at them separately. You can turn on or turn off, switch on, switch off the planes. Now, the shaft plane is probably easiest to understand. That is basically the plane on which the shaft moves. So let's say you have a 70-degree lie angle putter and you make a neutral stroke, then that shaft plane will be on a 70-degree angle. We also see the rotation radius here, and just imagine a junior putting with a very small putter or a very tall guy putting with a long putter, and that will influence the size of the radius. The putt plane is basically the plane of the putter head. So even though the putter head and the shaft are connected, they are moving on different planes. So we see here that the putter head plane starts on a flatter plane and then moves up and syncs with the shaft plane. And this is really interesting. It will take a little bit of time and thinking effort to start understanding these planes and what they mean for a putting motion, but it's really super interesting stuff to have a look at and take an in-depth look on what the player is doing. One very cool part, let me switch off the body, let me switch off the planes, so that leaves us with the kernels. Let's zoom in a little bit, and here we can see the shaft and the putt kernel, and that basically shows you around which axes the putter head or the shaft are moving. The smaller that kernel, the more the putter head or the shaft are moving around one fixed point. The larger that kernel, that means that the shaft rotates around different points during the stroke. So the smaller the circle, the sphere, the more it is a one-axis pendulum motion. So 3D motion is absolutely something great and really interesting to dive into when you really want to go down the rabbit hole with the putting stroke. One of the new features in the Captor software is the Explore mode. In the Explore mode, you have a 3D graphic of your putting stroke that you can look at from all the sides. So you can basically scroll around and look at your putting stroke from all positions and all directions. And one of the coolest things of this mode is that you can turn the optimizer on, and that will actually give you the ideal positions of the putt with the ideal tempo and the ideal accelerations. So you can get a real quick and easy look at what the player is doing and if that player is matching up the ideal model.
In this Captor 2.0 introduction video, I have tried to give you an idea of the possibilities that Captor 2.0 has to offer. It is impossible to show you all the information and all the data in this short video. There's so much more to tell, there's so much more to explain, and most interesting, there's so much more to learn. If you are interested in working with Capto, I would definitely advise you to also take the level 1 and 2 online certification courses. So if you're going to buy a Capto 2.0, ask for these online courses and they will guide you and help you in understanding the data better and will help you improve your coaching in putting. I want to thank you for the time that you have taken to look at these videos and your interest in Capto. I hope you will be working with Capto soon, and I wish you all the best. Good luck. Thanks for now. My name is JB, and hopefully see you in the future.